Today we're going to be painting. We're doing a painting from a photo I took. So I start with the canvas with the plastic coating over it. This way I could get a feel for the size of the canvas and the composition. This process, I'm not going to use any pencil drawing to start. The creative process of doing artwork. So we're going to start with an idea. Say number one, we start with an idea. Okay, I'd like to do a painting of this photo I took. But I'm going to reinterpret the photo and make it what I think is a little more interesting, make it into something dreamlike or hypnotic or something unusual, not a typical realistic version. Or I could have put a grid on the photograph and then grid the canvas to scale it up to the right size. So this is 36 by 24. It's not huge for such a large amount of people. So there's about 50 people in this photo, which is fun. I would like to have a bigger canvas, so we'll see how that goes next time. So, like I said, I'm not going to start with pencil drawing. I'm going to go right into the oil painting. Okay, so we're going to lay out the design and the composition and try to just do a sketch or a hint of where the people are going to be. So sometimes it's fun to paint like this where it's a creative process. It's not so carefully figured out from the beginning. It's just, I'm going to go with the flow. I'm going to make up the background later because there's not too much interesting. This is a beautiful catering hall. It's the Rainbow Room at 30 Rockefeller Plaza. So this is a penthouse, so it's up high in the air, top floor, and you can, but it's all mirrors, so the background I'm going to change. We're going to just go with the flow with the background. Okay, so now I'm covering. The first thing I like to do with a canvas is I want to make sure that all of the white of the canvas is covered. Okay, once the canvas is all covered, then I'm kind of happy because it's painted already. So it's almost finished. So of course you know that when you paint, it's quite a lot of different steps. So we sort of eliminated the first step of drawing. So I did a couple of sketches to plan things out. And then we're going to go with the flow, taking a look, take a step back, take a look at it. This painting I'm doing instead of in the studio, right at home in my New York apartment. And the nice thing about that is you get to wake up each day and see the work from the previous day. And you smell the oil paint. I love the smell of oil paint in the morning. And you wake up and you look at it, and you leave, usually go off to work, and you have the impression of, okay, what did I do yesterday? Okay, this could be a little better. I don't like the background. The people are not all there yet. I don't have all my characters in place. So it's great to, even though I have the full studio to paint in, I always enjoyed painting at home. Very relaxing. No one bothers me. I could just get the work done and observe it without having, like if you're working in the studio, you just do your work and take a look and you leave. But when you're at home, you could look at the progress from the previous day. So now I'm looking at the photo and I'm trying to put the characters in. So the main point of this was to attach photos on the canvas when I'm finished painting, which I've done with all of my series that I'm working on, since I studied illustration first, but then I became a photographer at a very young age, and I own my own photography studio. So my whole life I've had to constantly be working on a painting. All right, so the point of this is the creative process. So it's not perfectly calculated how it's going to end, which is sort of fun process. So we're going to take a step back, look at it. Now I'm using, most of my series here is in black and white, and then I do add a little bit of natural tones, some color, sepia tones and stuff later. So the nice thing about starting with black and white is that's the way you should start. I mean, even a very colorful picture, if you start off black and white, now you know the tones of the color. So now I could fill it in. I can make his suit blue. I can make it brown. You could fill your colors in later. So actually, most of my paintings are not 100% done, because if I'm living with them, I'm noticing little things that, oh, that's a little crooked, or I don't like that, or the proportions are off, and then you could just repaint it. And that's the advantage that I have when I paint very thinly. A lot of people, or some people, do enjoy the texture of the paint on the surface. I am the opposite. I really like to work very flat and very thin. Even a matte finish, I use a lot of turpentine paint thinner to flatten out the paint, to make it very watery, very thin. And I like to work thin this way in case, say, one of these figures, oh no, it's wrong, it's in the wrong spot, or she's too wide, I want to thin her down. You could change your mind later and no one could detect where you moved someone if you paint it nice and thin. So a lot of times I look at a picture, oh no, I want to change that. So you're changing a small section of the picture. So if you paint it very thick, I mean, a lot of times people want it thick because it takes longer for the oil paint to dry, and that is sometimes an advantage, especially in realism, because then you would use oil. You would mix the oil paint with linseed oil, which I usually use the opposite. I use the turpentine. Linseed oil kind of gives it a shine. It retards the drying factor of it, so it stays nice and wet. So that's two different styles. If you want the painting to stay wet, do you want it to be a little thicker, or do you want it to dry quickly? Because usually I like to eliminate all the brush strokes. Unless, I mean, I'm eliminating the brush stroke texture, but I could still show the actual brush stroke, especially at the beginning. Now with painting, it is similar to drawing, where if you make a fast brush stroke, it has a different look from when you create a slower brush. It's like when you draw, if you draw a fast line, it looks different from when you draw a slow line. And then, of course, the pressure also changes the look of it. So there's different brush strokes for different looks. So I like to have a fast brush stroke, something with some action in it. And now I have all these characters in place. So there could be about 50 people in this canvas. So now you could step back and look at them and say, oh, even though I slapped that paint on there and did it very quickly, I kind of like the effect, or I don't like the effect. So if you like the effect of the quick brush stroke, you can go back in there and enhance it a bit and say, okay, I like the way this looks. I like the mood and the feeling. I'm just going to clean it up a little bit and leave it. And then other ones, oh, well, this is wrong. Of course, if the proportions are wrong, then you have to fix it from the beginning. That you have to be conscious at the beginning of the painting. You would have to be conscious of the proportions on everything. Make sure everything is correct the way you want it. If you want to exaggerate the proportions, as long as you know what the rules are, then you could break the rules. So in a previous episode, we went over the human figure, and we determined that there are 8 heads within the body. Some people say 7.5 heads. Of course, 8, a little taller, a little more elegant looking, is sometimes preferred. So we want to look at the proportions on everyone, and I'm eliminating their faces. So somehow I'm making this look like a mannequin. Like sometimes I would take pictures of mannequins in stores and draw them. I don't know why. I was mostly into the figure, the full figure, and there's not that much attention to detail in the features of the face when you're doing a full body, especially if you do nudes and stuff, which I prefer to do nudes because I'm not crazy about painting folds of material. I find it a little bit boring, so I try to avoid clothes. So now we're looking, now look at this group. I have 4 people on the left. They almost look ghostly because people are wearing black, which happened to be true in this particular wedding. They were wearing black. But I left these, okay, I'm looking at them, okay, they look a little spooky. Of course, they don't have faces, so that could make them look a little strange. So I'm leaving certain people if I feel it has an interesting look, even if it's not a happy look, if it's a spooky look, I might just go with it because I like it. And this picture isn't that happy. I've always been a wedding photographer, and I've been doing this my whole life, where I've been taking photos from weddings, and I would print them in black and white, because that's how I started in photography, in black and white. And I would print them in black and white, and then I would attach them to the canvas. So we'll see how I'm going to attach a photograph to this canvas at the end. And usually I use a very thin, I don't use any heavy glue. I use like a Mod Podge from years ago. I've been using this. And I try to attach the photo by the edges only. We're going through all these figures. So now this photo was taken at my friend's wedding. She was a customer also, my friend Annette Vallone, where she had a beautiful wedding at the Rainbow Room. Beautiful place. Now this background, I changed it like 3 times. Okay, so that's the disadvantage of just going with the flow and not really having a definite plan from the beginning of exactly how it's going to look. So I changed the background 3 times. Now I decided within the same building, and since the bride was a dancer, why not put Radio City Music Hall, the stage in the background, which almost looks like a rainbow. So it's the Rainbow Room. The background looks a little bit like a rainbow in black and white, but it's the stage of Radio City Music Hall, which is just down below us. We're on top. We're in the penthouse at the Rainbow Room. Radio City Music Hall is at the street level. So, which was not planned from the beginning, but I'm happy. So I wasted a little bit of time coming up. I had some kind of Art Deco background and whatever. This also is Art Deco. I think this is an Art Deco painting. It's Art Deco-ish. Okay, so now I'm looking at the different characters. I'm seeing what works, what doesn't work. Sometimes it takes a couple of days when you have so many characters to find out one or two of them that I don't like. Oh, look at that, the arms are off, or this is not right, I don't like this. So that also happened in this painting where I didn't notice some irregularities from the beginning, and then I found them later. Maybe there's more. If anyone wants to point them out, I could change them at any time, of course. That's the wonderful thing about painting. You could go over it. If it's too light, make it dark. If it's too dark, you make it lighter. You can add the color. Everything could be changed. So now we're looking at the details, and I cover, which I do with a lot of paintings, I cover the whole canvas at the same time. I don't just start in the top left-hand corner and work my way through. I like to equally treat the whole canvas with similar attention to detail or no detail. So, and as I progress towards the end, then I define all my shapes. I make everything very black and white, which brings clarity. Okay, now I'm attaching the photos. I found these two photos that I took a while back of Bruce Willis and Demi Moore, and they fit right in. I flipped one of the images where it looks like they're looking right at each other. So I took both of these, they were together, and both were in one photograph, so they were in the same lighting. And now I'm using the adhesive, and I'm putting it on the back of the photo because they're so small. They're just little tiny photos. I can show you. So first I took the photo, this Bruce Willis and Demi Moore, and I made multiple sizes. So I tried to make them in different sizes, so then when I get it back from the printer, I could decide if I want to make it a little bigger or a little smaller. So just to play it safe, so I don't have to reprint twice, I make multiple. So then I cut it out in an irregular pattern. I don't want a square box that you could see where the edges are. I don't want people to know where the edges are. So then I'm using the Mod Podge, and I've been using it forever, so why change now? I don't see any discoloration. It's not coming through to the front of the photo and ruining the picture where I have to put a new one on. And then, since paintings are supposed to be forever, for all my paintings that have portrait photographs included, and I took all the photos, it's not like I'm taking someone else's photo. I make an extra copy of it, and I attach it to the back of the painting, just in case in the future, if something happens to the painting, gets scratched or something, I have another photo where I could reattach it. And of course, paintings can all be restored. So, you want things to last forever, and you hope people enjoy them. Okay, so this is the process we went through of creating this painting that was not 100% planned out from the beginning, which makes it more interesting to me, where I could let it evolve. And it still could evolve into something else. It could still change. And I originally did the painting and left the faces blank because I've been doing these different types of photo and paintings together for my customers. I would make giant canvases and glue pictures on of their wedding and then paint the background in between. And so I've been doing this a long time, and I kind of like this process. So I hope you learned something today. Thank you so much for watching. If you could be so kind to like and subscribe, and maybe hit the little bell icon, I would greatly appreciate that. So I hope to see you in the next video. Ciao.